Hello, I want to say a few words today about the narcissist grooming process. And I want to highlight today the importance of understanding the grooming process as far as narcissistic people are concerned. And very often what can happen is that people are not aware that they're being groomed by anyone in general. And with the narcissistic dynamic, this grooming can go on for a very long time. And its intention really is to keep the person or several people in line with the narcissistic agenda. So I just want to highlight a few points as far as that grooming process is concerned. And the narcissistic grooming process could be in any type of relationship. And it generally, the intention is to bring us in line with the narcissistic dynamic, which is the narcissist or very narcissistic person's desires and their idea, if you like, of a relationship and how they want to set up that relationship, which can be done quite often in childhood if it's a family member, and if it's a partner, that can be set up quite early in the dynamic. And if someone isn't going to come in line with the grooming process, then often that person is discarded, because if we're not going to fall in line with a grooming process, it's going to be too much hard work for them, and it's not going to work at the end of the day, and we may potentially end up walking away anyway. So understanding how we are groomed and how we're groomed to stay in to the narcissistic dynamic is quite useful for us, and it's a good tool to have in our safe relationship training toolbox. So the main purpose of the grooming process is to bring us in line with the groomer's agenda, and in other words, to get us to do whatever they want us to do. And in the narcissistic dynamic, the narcissist likes to be on top in every situation. They like all the attention going their way, and they like to have various people playing different roles really to support their agenda, to support that dynamic and the facade, and to come in alignment with that. And they don't really like anyone who is going to bring down the facade or is going to question them and isn't going to support their ego and that facade, which is their version of themselves that they've set up and they put forth into the world. They expect that facade to be accepted by everyone and supported by everyone. So the main partner is the one that is groomed to support the facade and support the ego of the narcissist, and they are expected to stay in line and to keep giving and giving and giving, so that the narcissist is supported in their need for the persona to be kept up and for everyone to be kept in their place. Very often the grooming process will entail them not doing very much in a relationship, because the narcissistic dynamic is very much about the other person doing all the work and the narcissistic person not doing very much, or if anything at all, because they believe that their mere presence is enough and that they shouldn't have to contribute to the dynamic in terms of the partner or other people at all, but that they are so valuable and so much more important than other people that after that initial phase of drawing people into the dynamic, that they shouldn't really have to contribute much at all, because the other person should just be grateful for being in their presence and being able to be in a relationship or friendship with the narcissistic person. And therefore, the one of the keys indicators that I use is whether the other person is actually contributing, as far as their behaviour is concerned, to the relationship itself in a concrete way and in an authentic way, in a heart-based way, rather than just doing things in order to support the facade. So quite often it's not really a two-way relationship, so you might not hear very much from the narcissist unless there is a purpose for that. And therefore the partner or person is set up to give to the narcissist on a continuous basis without having any expectations as far as receiving anything authentically in return. So basically they see everything as their right, and that they shouldn't have to work to receive anything. They should just automatically have it as their right. It's their due for being who they are, as they perceive themselves to be. So a lot of the dynamic that is kept in place is done through manipulation and control. And sometimes the partner's identity is manipulated in order to keep them in the game. And their sense of self is manipulated, of course, because a lot of the relationship with the narcissist is about keeping the partner and other people in their specific roles and in line. And if they step out of line, then various methods are used to bring them back in line again. Could be a sense of abandonment or control, manipulation, blaming, guilt-inducing, all sorts of different psychological tools they can use, and emotional tools to bring the partner or person back in line. So that's part of the grooming process, really, so that people come to understand over a period of time that if they do certain things, that they could be discarded, they could be thrown into the relationship bin, and they would not be welcomed back into the narcissist world, potentially, because generally people want to stay in the narcissistic world if they perceive this person to be as amazing as the narcissist presents themselves to be. Which is quite often the case, because a lot of people do not understand the narcissistic dynamic anyway, and so they are groomed to fulfill their role in the narcissistic world in particular ways. And if they do not come in alignment with that, then they learn the message pretty early on that, it may not be a good outcome for them. So that's part of the grooming process as well, is the sort of reward and punishments for good behaviour, which is behaviour that is in line with the narcissistic needs. So the identity of the partner specifically is often groomed to come in line with the narcissistic dynamics, so that he or she becomes a partner that is subservient to the narcissist in whatever way is appropriate, so that they are maintained in a sort of one-down position, although the narcissist may appear to put them in a high position. Really, it's a position of disempowerment quite often for the partner, even though they're given various benefits and rewards and gifts and things along the way, intermittently, to keep them in the game. At the end of the day, it's generally the narcissistic person who could be operating on the down low, out of awareness, who has the power and the control in the relationship. in order to keep people in the game. And otherwise, if they didn't have people to manipulate and control, they wouldn't be able to maintain the facade. They would be on their own as well. And they need this attention to support the persona and to support the ego, which is very fragile and very insecure. So they need all these people to keep in their positions appropriately to maintain the facade, and they have to maintain their behaviour, and that's why they're groomed consistently to stay in their position so that they do not leave the narcissist. And if they do, then they're generally replaced by someone else. So the narcissistic person believes basically at the end of the day that everyone else is inferior to them and they should be subservient to them and to fulfill their needs in various different ways depending on their role. And so they are continually groomed to fulfill those needs. And if somebody doesn't do that and they want to go off and do their own thing, that's where we get the smear campaigns and things, because that person has betrayed the narcissist as they see it and hasn't fulfilled their role. So they have to go. And I just wanted to highlight, I suppose, today really being aware and to ask ourselves in our relationships, if we suspect we're in a relationship of some form with a narcissistic person, whether we're groomed in that relationship, and to just have a look at how much of ourselves that we've lost in that dynamic and that we're handing over to the other person to control, to keep us aware as far as not being groomed into a narcissistic dynamic and relationship. So as always, stay safe and very happy. Bye bye.